Start on TikTok, so I just need one moment. Should only take a second. Let's go ahead and get that done. Awesome. I think that's it. I gotta mute my computer. Cool. Okay. Well, fortunately, I am joined by both the cats once again. So we have Vito and Vinny behind me. My wife is gone, and she's not coming back until the evening, so they're not going to attack the door again because once she comes home, they both they both really want to get her attention. So I'm safe for now, kind of, because they like to explore. So we'll see. Vito right now is still on the couch. He's usually the explorer. Vinny is the fatter one, and he's usually very much just wants to sleep and eat. So he's currently causing a little bit of havoc back there, but we should be okay. This stream, compared to the one I do at night, is more about actually trying to write some code, and I'm continuing on the series where I am talking about migrating my blog from WordPress over to Blazor. So for folks that are kind of new to what I've been doing here, because it's been a little bit, I had a vacation, so I didn't stream for 2 weeks on this, but this is the Blazor blog engine that I'll be using. I'm putting it in the chat so you can check that out. This is, I can't say his name properly, and I apologize. Steven Giesel. He said I think I got like a 6 or 7 out of 10 on his name, so I apologize. I can't do it right. But this is what I'm going to be using personally. For a little bit of context, when I started DevLeader, it was this blog. Sorry, I didn't put the link to my blog. It was this blog that I've been working on. So I'll put the link to that. So this is my blog. And that was in 2013. And sorry, I'm rubbing my eyes because I just woke up. But in 2013, I started my blog. So that's been kind of the foundation of like when I create content, it usually starts off as a blog post. And even when, so I haven't been blogging for most of this year because I've been building Brand Ghost. I just haven't had time. But the way that content creation works for me is generally from a blog post or a video idea. But then I would create the blog post. If there's a good associated video I want to make with it, I would make that. And then from there, I can come up with posts and stuff for other platforms. So the blog is one of the core parts of like how I like to put information out on the internet. So my blog is for the last, 6 months or so, maybe a little longer now. It's only been used for hosting my newsletter articles because that's the one piece of like blog content that I'm being consistent with. The rest I just don't have time for until I'm further along in Brand Ghost, and then I can go back to creating blog articles. So I used WordPress back in 2013. I remember it was a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes, but when I started creating content again in 2023, I said, hey, I'm going to go back to WordPress, but I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it right. It felt like a rewrite. Hey, this time we're going to address all the tech debt. It'll be perfect. No, definitely not. So it reached a point not long in where, when you're if you haven't done this kind of thing before, if you have a blog website, or so if you haven't done it and you want to have a blog website, there's a lot of things that go into trying to make sure that it's optimized, whether that's performance or the keyword usage, things like that. Even like the layout can affect your ranking based on how bots are crawling your pages. So especially the performance of the site is a huge factor. And so when you're using WordPress and plugins and stuff like that, I was running ads at one point, and then the problem is like, okay, now I got these plugins turned on, now their performance is taking a hit. So then you layer on more settings for your optimizations, and now there's more complexity. Like once caching is turned on, like good luck. Anyway, like the whole point is that I wanted to do it right with WordPress, and I've been spending like well over a year now, basically constantly fighting WordPress. I run my WordPress instance on LightSail, which is an Amazon service. It's kind of nice. It's like a very, it feels like like a no brain kind of way to just have a container running in the cloud. Except except my WordPress instance is non-stop crashing. So, and I have no idea why. So basically, like every 2 days or something, I'll get an alert that comes to me, and it's like CPU usage is like way too high, and I'm like, that's super weird. And then the alert changes shortly after, like CPU usage is way below normal, and then I look, and it basically spiked up and plummeted, and it's, all the services are off, and it's got to be a plugin that's causing my WordPress to crash. And I'm just at the point now where I'm like, hey, Steven, who is in the chat on YouTube. Hey, Steve. He's come up with a Blazor blog engine. He writes a lot of awesome content. Steven, where is your website? I want to put it in the chat so people can see it. So Steven's website is right here. So I'm like, hey, if I'm gonna have to accept that I'm gonna be spending time touching the blog engine, right? That because I'm already doing this with WordPress, I'm like, I might as well pick something that I can put my hands into and feel like I have full control. Like kind of going the exact opposite direction. It's like I'm already seeing that I'm touching it all the time. I might as well pick something that's not WordPress, because working in WordPress and the plugin system they have and stuff like the ecosystem's cool because there's so many people that can create things, but I don't want to be one of the people tweaking and modifying stuff in that ecosystem. So it's just proving that it's not a good fit for me. Over the past few streams that I've done, like Steven has jumped into the chat like he is right now, and we didn't coordinate this or anything. It's like, oh, Giesel. Did I do it, Steven? Did I do it right? Giesel? I think the diesel example is very good. I wanted to say Geisel, right? But Giesel. Hopefully I've gotten it finally, and then I can do his name justice. That would be awesome. Yeah, like he's been able to jump into the chat. 10 out of 10. Finally, I've done it. Jump into the chat and kind of walk me through different things. When I was streaming about this before, I was calling out, like, I want to be fully transparent, right? Like, I don't expect that Steven's blog engine will do everything that I had on WordPress out of the box, and that's because it's his blog engine. Like, he's building something that is obviously got to be something he wants to use. And oh no, the cats are already starting. No, buddy, you got to come here. Thank you. And I'm just a potential user that has some feature requests, but what's been really cool is there's been a couple things that I've called out, and like he's extremely active on it. So one of the last things, this is like, again, totally unexpected. I had, in between the last stream and now, I said to Steven, like, hey, I remembered something that I never came up on the streams, and it has to do with my newsletter. So for context, and I promise I'm going to try to get into some actual code today, but I just want to give you some framing. For context, I have my newsletter on Substack. It gets paywalled when it's archived. So after a month, the newsletter articles get archived. And that's, you have that month to go view them. That's where, if you want to check them out for free, that's the spot. But on my blog, I have like sort of the original master copy of them, and they're paywalled there. So I realized, oh crap, like I don't think there's a way with Steven's blog engine to be able to do the paywalling. So I can't have like a members only kind of thing. So what's really awesome is that, and I got to move something one sec. It's in the way. What's really awesome, if I share my screen here. So I was talking with Steven about this, and I said, hey, I don't know if you plan on building this, but like if not, I will probably, at least on a fork or something, have to try and build my own for members and authentication. But he went ahead and in like, in like a day had like a prototype and something whipped up, and I think there's been a couple more commits. I've been super busy over the past few days, so I have not yet got to go see it, but I don't know if we'll get time today to go do this. Perhaps not, because I want to try converting some posts. But this will be something that I actively use, right? So he went ahead and built the feature to essentially allow me to have users on my blog that can be that I can try to get coordinated with Substack memberships and stuff like that, which is awesome. So I think at this point, in terms of features that like are, I'm going to use like the word missing. That's not, again, I'm not blaming Steven for this. I'm trying to in my head figure out feature parity so that I have a migration path, because migrating a blog where like all of your stuff has just lived is like, it's kind of a scary process. The only thing that I think is sort of missing, and it's not even a feature that has to get built, is like I have to figure out and understand how I migrate certain pages. And the one example I had, if I go back to sharing my screen here, so on my blog, like, and you can see like this, you see how this stupid purple at the top, that's not supposed to be like that. Like that's actually a bug because there's some caching involved in the styling. And like how ridiculous that looks, where it's a purple highlight and black background on courses and stuff, like that's not supposed to look like that. But these links at the top that I have, they don't necessarily have to exist like this in the future, but I have these like these pages where for example, maybe this one that's like a bunch of YouTube links. This one doesn't necessarily have to exist. That's fine. But something like my courses landing page, this is where you see that's the spinner and everything. It's just, this is a terrible experience. But this is like a landing page that I have links to a bunch of places on the internet already. So I would love to still have like a, an ability to make sure I can have landing pages and stuff, which should be, like I said, I don't even think that's a feature that needs to be asked for. This is just the ability for me to go make some pages. So that should be totally fine. So, and I'm just reading Steven's comments in the chat. So this is perfect, as this still is somewhat draft state. Awesome. This is for the member stuff, but at the very, very least, it might be a jumping off point for a fork that supports this out of the box. Yeah, great. And always keep up the features. I really like that. Whether or not I will use that is not so important in the first place. And that's been a cool thing. Like from, again, I'm not like, I hope Steven doesn't feel like this. Like, I don't feel like I'm hounding him, just kind of talking about the migration path I have. And I have felt very supported, and that every single time I talk about something, he has been like, okay, noted, and like fully up to him if he wants to go pursue it or not. But I think there's a mutual understanding that like there's going to be stuff that just literally doesn't make sense for him to put into the blog engine. And that's totally fine. Like, I will have to fork it and build some pieces myself. That's cool. But that's the whole point of being able to have this, because I don't want to go do this in WordPress because it's going to be a nightmare. So with that said, I think what I'm going to have to do, because we had a bit of a brand ghost scare when I was in Hawaii, because the Azure the Azure billing turned off because my credit card expired. It was the worst timing in my entire life. And so I nuked I put the database that had my blog post that I cloned from WordPress. I put that into the Azure subscription, and I was like, I'm going to get rid of that because it had a monthly cost. But I'm going to take now we proved last time we can take the HTML from my posts, and they're almost perfect, which is so cool, because I thought that I was going to have to do HTML to Markdown conversion on everything. I forgot Steven put the shortcode support in. That was one big thing that was missing. Missing from feature parity that I wanted. So I think like I think I want to try converting a post, and there's a couple of things that are interesting. Like some of the YouTube embeds don't work unless we change them to be a certain format. What I'm not going to do on stream is actually do the, because I'm going to be bulk converting posts. That was the framing here. Some of the picture hosting, right? I need to make sure that I put that up into Azure Blob Storage. So we can write something, but I'm not going to actually do the upload to Azure because I don't want to configure that and stuff on stream. I'm a little bit nervous to have like some of the cloud stuff. I'll do this at some point in the future, but it makes me a little bit nervous to be doing that stuff live because if I have something visible at the wrong time, I don't want to have to be paranoid about someone watching a video later and being like, oh, like Nick left this open. Like, I just don't want to worry about it for now. So we can go through at least some pseudocode and the part where it's actually going to have to do the upload to Azure. If you haven't worked with the Azure Blob Storage NuGet package, it is so simple and straightforward. The first time I had to go use it, I was like, there's no way it works like this. And sure enough, it's one of those things like, it's pretty rare, I find, like you code it for the first time and it works and you're like, how? Like, how did that run the first time? It's supposed to be broken, isn't it? But no, it works really well. So I'm not nervous about that personally, but I want it to be transparent that like that part's going to be pseudocode. So what I'm going to do is on a different screen so it's not in your face, I will try to pull the HTML for a blog post. I am going to go open up Visual Studio here and try to get the blog open. And I remembered I need to use Visual Studio Preview, so let me do that. Because that has .NET 9 loaded. That's going. Oh, you know what? I actually might have some of the blog posts in the SQLite database. So we'll go ahead and run this. I'm just reading Steven's last message. So he was saying, no, he does enjoy that for the feature discussion. The idea is to open that to a wide variety of people. The most stuff should be configurable in some way or another. And I'm 100% on board. That's cool. That's how it's felt. So I feel like Steven's not just doing that lip service and saying like, you know, here's whatever how I feel and it's not real. Like that's honestly what it's felt like the entire time. And if I go refresh my browser over here, I just wanted to show you the blog is running. I am not authorized. So, yeah, this is actually, I don't have to port anything probably. I do have, this is some of the HTML that's directly from my blog. So one sec, let me get this a little bit better. Whoa, I zoomed the wrong way. So if I'm just doing a little bit of recap here, because if folks haven't watched the previous live streams, and even for me, it's been a couple weeks, but just to recall that the idea, this zooms, oh, I'm zooming in different spots here. One sec. Okay, so the idea is that this is supposed to be Markdown, and what I didn't realize until, I guess, the last stream was that Markdown will support HTML. I literally did not know this. So my assumption was that all of this HTML that you see here, I thought that I was going to have to port all of this like with, what is, I think it's called MarkDig, or I would like a combination of HTML Agility Pack and MarkDig. I thought I was going to have to convert every blog article from HTML over to Markdown, but it just like an over 90% success, in my opinion, just works out of the box like this. Going forward, I will write my blog posts in Markdown just so that it doesn't feel like this stuff's pretty gross if we're looking through it. And you can see that like there's these extra comments and stuff that get added in, and that's from WordPress itself, I think, for how some of the plugins and the tools work. So that will go away. Okay, and then my list is somewhere. It was a short list, but I had a list of things that were like, keep these in mind when we're converting blog posts. One of them is that the table of contents, which I think I've already pulled out of this one, the table of contents needs to be stripped out of my blog post because we get it for free now, which is super cool. I need to see if there is a short code on this one. How do we do short codes? Because Steven did add the support for short codes, which is, again, that was a feature that I was looking for because, for context, I have some spots on my articles where I want to embed like a course advertisement, or I want to embed, like, for some design patterns, I have a free ebook that's, sorry, it's a paid for ebook, but it has the, like, I can't remember how many design patterns, like, across the spectrum. And when I write design pattern articles, I like being able to mention that I have this ebook. But it's basically, I use a short code to insert like some common advertisement or text or something like that. Steven said, one thing that's currently open, the automatic table of content generation. Oh, from HTML. That's right. So that was one thing we noticed, is that making the table of contents works very well out of the box for Markdown. But because I was dropping in these HTML-based posts, it wasn't picking up the headings. So he's saying it's a bit tricky. It's not working currently. And he's going to have to write a parser. But yeah, and like, so this is, and he said, like, there's a workaround, and it's technically just converting the headings to being in actual Markdown, which, like, I could do that, right? Like, I could go write a converter that does that. So, and it sounds like, I'm assuming he said, like, would need a parser to be written. So that might be something that sits on his backlog for a while. Maybe he wants to address it at some point, and great. My cat's trying to eat my microphone stand now. Vinny, come on, man. It's the fat one, so he's literally probably trying to eat it because he's fat. Buddy, stop that. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to actually go through, let's go back to the home page. And if I click this one, so recall, if I look at this URL for this one, this is still going. You can see, like, the WP content uploads. Watch out, buddy. So I'm going to have to figure that out in terms of, like, as much as possible for the stuff that exists, I want to maintain what this looks like. So I might have to figure out how to get my Azure blob storage. Like, basically, when someone's hitting a URL that starts with WP content, I might have to change the Blazor part to be able to handle that and say, like, hey, look, it's trying to go to blob storage. And then I could have in blob storage, like, an uploads folder. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure that out. But that's the part that what we're going to do in the example today is we're going to walk through the code. We'll do a naive parser. It's certainly not going to be optimal, but the reason that I don't actually care is because the goal is to not run this regularly. I just need to port my content over, and if it's slow, if it's not optimal, I don't care. Like, it's not going to matter. The one thing we had some trouble with, so these are more pictures that I'll have to handle, but the code embed worked perfectly. It was video embeds. So this is where we were playing around with it. These sections that you see here with the headers, these sections have these videos here. And like, in my own blog, I did not put the videos like this. They're actually embeds. Saul, yes, this is open. Give me 1 second, because I don't think the links come through nicely on LinkedIn. So I just want to put a link to Steven's repository here. So let me copy this back over, and I will put it on LinkedIn. So that should have gone through. Failed to post the comment. Yeah, thank you, LinkedIn. Okay. Give me one moment. Sorry. I'll try again. I think it was trying to make the preview card or something, and then it failed. I'll try it one more time. Seems like it went. There we go. I can see it in the shared chat. I just realized, too, the shared chat's not visible on this view. There you go, folks. Sorry. You can tell I'm not a pro streamer. Someday, maybe. Cool. Okay, so jumping back, one thing that we're going to have to do is figure this part out, and I think we have an example in this post where we did it a little bit, because this is actually an embed now. So let's go ahead and I'm going to duplicate this tab. We're going to go edit this one. So admin. How do we go edit these? Edit. There's an edit button right there. I'm just blind. Okay, so if we go to the end of this, we go to the end. Do we have embed? Yeah. So I think I put in both of these, and I think that this is the one that doesn't work. I'd have to go back and watch my last live stream. It's been 2 weeks now. This is the one that doesn't work, but this one does. Let's just quickly find out. So, if I take this out, oh, one sec. Okay, I remember we had to actually go get the embed link. So let me take this one out and save it. Make it visible immediately. It's cached, right? So we want to bust the cache. If I refresh this one, does the video go away? No, so that's good. I got the right one. The one we need to use. So if you weren't on the last live stream where I was going through this, we were trying to talk about which style we needed to use. So it's on my clipboard. This one, the video tag, does not work. Does not work. But if we do the embed, it seems to work. So let me go ahead and put this on. Can I make this actually take the right size? My blog posts, like all the videos, are generally like a standard embed size. So like I think it's 600 by 400. I don't know anymore, because in WordPress it's configured in one spot and then I don't think about it. But let me go, again, bust the cache on that, update it, and hopefully this becomes bigger. Ah, yes. Okay, perfect. So the only thing that's missing on this is just to center it. But that means that when we go write a parser, I'm probably going to be using a lot of regular expressions, which is super gross, but probably going to do that. And we'll be able to look for the YouTube URLs. My God, cat, stop eating all the cables. Vinny, come on, buddy. I like having the cats in here when I'm streaming because it's kind of funny when they're running around in the back. But, like, this guy is literally pulling cables out. One sec. No. There he is. Yeah, you can't eat my cables, buddy. Okay. Maybe I can just hold him on my lap, at least for a little bit. So the video stuff, we can be able to parse. That'll be good. We can try doing header replacement just to get the, for now at least, the markdown headers. So we can do probably, again, I'm probably using regex for a lot of this stuff. It's going to be terribly slow and inefficient, but I don't care because, like I said, it's just to convert it once. So we can try doing that. And then I want to write a parser that's going to look for image links, right? So the images, let's see if we can go back to here. If I take this text and we go back into here, if I look for that, it doesn't show up. Okay, how do we... Oh, it does. Sorry. It's the searching's weird on the browser because it was trying to search the page but not like the text box. But if I scroll down a little bit, basically if I look for images that have this as a prefix, or even maybe the whole part, that's going to be a trigger for me when I'm doing migration, that I will need to basically download the picture, re-upload it to Azure Blob storage, and ideally I can keep the same URL. So we'll write a little thing that it's going to be a little bit stubbed out, but we can put something there. So if that sounds cool, maybe we'll try that out. So I'm going to get another instance of Visual Studio open up. This will be the start of the conversion tool that'll get built. No, this probably doesn't make sense for literally anyone else to use, so making it available is kind of silly unless you just want to play with the code. But unless you have the same plugins and stuff as me in WordPress and same configuration, it might seem kind of useless. But I don't know if Vinny's still eating cables. Come on, buddy. If you're watching this and you're like, hey, like that's something I would want, then maybe I can just open it up. But I'm making a project right now. Just give me a sec. Just a console app, nothing fancy. It will be WordPress to Blazor Migrator. Not the best at naming things, but hey, that'll do. Console app. And maybe something we can try doing, this will be kind of interesting maybe, is I wonder if there's a way to write. So I've talked about this before. When I write code that's like using parsers and stuff like that, I actually like, it's not quite TDD, because I would never call myself someone who practices TDD, because I think TDD people would be upset with me. But when I write parsers, I really like making sure that I have tests in place, because when I'm writing parsers, they're going to be super messy, and I just want to make sure I'm not breaking things. So I might actually do that. So one sec, let me make another project in here. It will just be the class library for the tests. And what I'm thinking of doing, this is not generally how I would recommend people go write their functional tests or anything like that, but I'm literally going to have an example input and what I hope the output can look like. And this is, again, just so I can write a huge functional test that will exercise all of my parsers. And we can put the output code into Steven's blog engine. As long as it's looking right, then I can use that as the expected output. Then we have something to try and match on. There might be some weird stuff with white space and things like that because it's a lot of text, but I think that's how I'll start looking at it. So I'm just going to add a dependency to the other project so we have a reference to it. I will need something like XUnit. We'll get that installed. Sorry, I know this is the boring stuff, and I spent most of the stream time catching people up. But I think we're getting there, because once I have this in place, you don't need to watch me run the migration. So that's why I'm saying it doesn't matter how slow it is. Like, it just got to work. Light mode to dark mode. Change your theme now. Where is it light mode? Where do you where do you see? And your name's not coming through in the chat, so where do you see light mode? I don't use light mode on anything. And then I need the test SDK. man, Vinny is now eating envelopes. I didn't even know I had an envelope in here, and he's eating it. He will find anything that can be almost eaten. So, oh, you're saying you drew your arrow. Oh, light. I thought you drew an arrow, but it's a greater than. Light mode is greater than dark mode. Man, I don't even know who you are because the name's not coming through. But I won't tolerate that. Let me refresh it. I'm looking on LinkedIn. I'm gonna ban you from the chat. Oh, it's Ryan. Even better. Should have banned you from the start. Ryan is the EM that I'm making courses with. So we're gonna wrap up our second course. I'm not telling you what the topic is yet, but it is career focused, so that's really cool. That's why Ryan's sassing me. But maybe today I'll give him a pass and no ban from the chat. That's okay. So I think it's because I'm using C# and he doesn't like C#, but that's okay. Now that we have a test class, basically we would need. Oh, I don't have Copilot on here. I'm not going to be able to code anything now. Asynchronous probably. So we'll have to have a test method. And this one's like I said, this one's gonna be super dumb. He's lying, I have no idea who he is. Yeah. Okay. It's funny because it works perfectly because his name is coming through as LinkedIn user. But I have the proof. And this is going to be Inception. Look, there he is. There's the traitor. Get him. Ryan Murphy right there. He can't hide. Cool. Okay, so like I said, what we're going to do is take a snapshot of the input and we're going to massage it to get the output we want. I don't have a great way to do this. I feel like it's going to be terrible no matter what. So if I take that's not the window I want. Where's the window that has the text? So if I take this, I might even just load it from a file because it's pretty nasty. So let's go add. Blog. Let's say like blog 1 input. Oh, yeah, that's funny. I was like, why is there code here? But that's because I picked that template. I just gave it a different name. So we'll do that. And then we can load that in and then we'll have an output. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. So I'm just going to explain how I would want to go about making, like iteratively making a parser to go handle this stuff. So right now the input and the output are the exact same, which is obviously not right. So we can actually start breaking it. So when I get the output, when we start doing some, my voice is going, when we start doing some parsing, I can drop it into the blog engine. We can check it out and say, cool, that's what we want. Then we'll go literally paste it into here. We'll update this, right? And then we go do another iteration. So I'm going to keep evolving what the output is as we're making enhancements into the into how the parser is working. So that will mean that in order for this to work, I need to get a file loaded. So and we'll call it just like blog. So input HTML, and we'll have to do like a file read. Oh, I do. I haven't seen the async versions of these. It's been a long time since I've had to do a lot of like file IO stuff. So cool. Now I don't know where this is anchored to. So give me 1 sec. Path is a bad name. I'll rename it in just a second. But I think if I do blog 1 input.txt, if I can type without, do I have Copilot? Am I losing my mind here? I do have Copilot. There it is. I was gonna say, like, without Copilot, I don't know how to write code anymore. I deleted too much. Here we go. I just want to double check this and run it because I can't recall if I need to go up a directory or not. Or if I have to I might have to copy these into the bin directory, which is fine. So this probably doesn't work. Oh man, it's async. I even said I don't use the async methods, right? But let me go ahead and I'm just gonna make these as copy to output directory. Copy if newer. Okay. Sorry for jumping around. I just want to get this kind of started because once it's in place, it'll be I don't want to say it'll be easy to iterate, but there still might be some complexity. So there we go. Loaded in the HTML. It's going to look terrible. Blah, blah, blah. I wish you could see my screen right now because you're seeing 1/4 of my screen. And as you might imagine, this entire thing is taking up a 4K resolution and it looks ridiculous. But we have some input. We can do the same for the output. So this will be not that. There we go. Will Copilot know? It does know. Look, I don't have to code anymore. Excellent. Okay, so now we have these two things. We can actually, we don't have a parser created. It's funny, I actually don't even need the first project. Well, I guess I will. This is just the test part. So let's go and make, we'll call it the migrator. The migrator. That sounds cool. And public async task, migrate. I have no idea. Like, I'm going to put a cancellation token on here. We probably don't even need to worry about that. Yes, if you're writing code that you care about, you do want a cancellation token. I don't care about this code. I just want to get my blog migrated. But if we jump back over to here, we should be able to now go make a new migrator, right? So we have access to that. The migrator is going to need a input. No, it doesn't. So that's the thing that's going to be a little bit confusing here. When I go to run sorry for jumping around here. I haven't actually thought all of this through yet. The migrator itself is going to have to connect to a I don't want to query WordPress directly. I'm going to dump my WordPress blog articles to MySQL. So I'll do that. Then I can just query a database directly. So this will actually want to know where to connect to. And then it needs to know where to write to. So I need like a source database and a destination database. But one of the things that we can also build is like just migrating a particular article itself, so we can do the conversion. So maybe we have a migrator and a converter. So migrator, I'm just going to write it here. So a WordPress site to a Blazor site. Nice, thanks. Not to WordPress, to for the input and output. So we're not writing that yet, but we need to write the page converter. So we'll call it the article converter. And the article converter itself is going to take in the input HTML, and it's not going to take in the output HTML because that would be silly, but it can return it. So that's going to be what this does. And right now, sorry, I have a microphone in my face, and even to this day, I still glance down at the keyboard when I need to re-anchor my hands. And that's why I end up missing a lot of the time. So, I don't want a migrator. I want a, what did I even call it? Article converter. Nice. I told you I'm not good with names. So we will have an article converter, and that is going to be, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I just realized it's real zoomed in, but that's going to be what we're dealing with. And then I will put an assertion at the end that we have this, right? So obviously if I go run this now, it's going to be broken. But that's the point. So it doesn't work because it's going to say it's empty because that's what I returned. Cool. Now we can start iterating on things. So inside of here, the things that I wanted to do are we need to replace HTML headings with Markdown. Okay. So I'm going to plan on using regular expressions for almost all this stuff just because I think it's going to be super inefficient. I keep saying this, but I think it's going to work. So then we need to handle images that are on WordPress and find how to upload to blob storage. So we're not going to do the actual uploading. I just want to make sure that I have a hook for this so that when we go run this, I can just make sure that it's tracking them. So that will be good. And then when it's finalized, I will actually remove the stub for uploading to Azure Blob storage and put the actual code in there. Like I said earlier in the stream, those APIs are super easy to work with. We also need to update video tag or embeds to use the proper HTML tags. I think that's it. I don't have it. Well, one sec. Use short code support. So this one is probably not. I'm just doing a time check too. I don't have much longer on the stream, but I'd probably do another 20 minutes. So let's try to at least I want to get this part done, and we can probably do the video part done. And this one's probably easier. So let's see. Let's go back over to here. We have so the heading, H2. How many headings do we have in this one? So heading, we have H3. There's no H4. There's no H1. So we have H2 and H3. Now, do all of them have, because what I explained this a little bit earlier, but what I want to be doing is using a regular expression to do the replacement. So now I'm using patterns, right? Like, so I'm trying to look at this H3 and saying, are all the H3s like the same type of thing? So for example, has H3, I don't care about any of this stuff, right? Doesn't matter. But here, so is it going to be safe for me to say, write a regular expression that just ignores everything else? Or do I need, are there examples where I actually need any of this stuff? This is going to be interesting. So that might be a good one to play around with. So I'm just showing you how I think through this stuff, right? So give me one sec. I want to take a copy of that. So I'm just going to organize my thoughts here. So here's an example of one. This one's extra fancy because of that, right? I want to make sure that gets handled properly once we convert it. Let's go look for more H3s. This is a really simple one. So I'll have some examples of that. Welcome back, Steven. H2. Interesting. Okay, so like here's an example. I'm glad I found this one. I don't need strong. So I need to be like, I want to use this as an example so that when I go to put this to Markdown, it doesn't just have random like strong tags around it. So we'll move away from that. So that's a good example to have in here. Right. So yeah, Steven. So I was just writing out, you were gone. So the goal is that I'm just going to do like, it's going to be super crude, but when I write parsers or converters, anything like that, where I have to do a lot of, I'm going to use regular expressions a lot just because it's going to be the thing that works for me. There's going to be some weird complication. Like I already found a couple of weird HTML headers, and I just want to make sure that I have something that I can iterate on, and if I can just compare the input to a desired output, then I can not lose my sanity. So this one in particular, sorry, it's hidden behind my face. This one in particular is going to be super weird. So I'm going to need to make sure that the regular expression handles that. What else do we got in here? This is a simple H2. So what's awesome, maybe we can use, I was going to say, like, we could, I found ChatGPT for me has been helpful for writing SQL queries, because I know how to write SQL, but it's really good if I just explain, like, I have these table schemas, write me something that does this. It's complicated. It's great for the most part. And then regular expressions, it does really well too. But I don't know if Copilot can do that. So could I literally ask it regex? I don't think this is going to be quite what I want, but I just for fun, let's let's go run this. I have full disclosure, I haven't even read what it's put in front of me. Like, I wasn't thinking that I would want to match on that, but I guess that is common in all of them. Yeah, Burhan, you're right. Yeah, Copilot requires the comments, and I have the comments above, so it seems like it did something. I don't need the ID, but it's just pulling it out because it sees that it's common. The level, the level it's not doing properly. But that's actually solvable, right? Because in Markdown, 1 pound an H1, and then like this is an H2. Because if that's the case, we could literally do new string. Is it like this? And then the count, not length, level. Clearly not. Oh, it's not an integer. One sec. I'm not even going to try parsing that. We'll just do that. Thanks, Steven. Yeah, it's funny, like, for things like Markdown and things like that, I should know it off the top of my head, but if I'm not looking at it, then I don't trust my brain. So, but yeah, this might be something that just works, which would blow me away. So let's do that. I don't want to call it input HTML the whole way through. So this is, again, you're going to see me writing code in here that, like, I'm not actually proud of. But it's going to work. So var output HTML equals the input HTML. The reason I'm doing this, I'm going to not use input HTML at any other point in here. So I want to, when I go to debug this, I want to make sure that I can just look at the HTML at the same time. So you might see me using, probably not on this stream because we're running out of time, but I'll be using like watches where I can go to different offsets and stuff. And I want to be able to compare. I want to have the sort of untouched input accessible. So then I'm going to return the output HTML. It's not going to, the test isn't going to pass. That's not the point right now. I'm going to run this. We're going to look at the output, but not in here, because unless you have robot eyes, it's probably not going to be super helpful. But I can already see, like, there is a triple here. That doesn't look right at all. So maybe we need to pause on this for just a moment. I was getting maybe a little too excited. It's not text that we want. Or is it? Sorry, this is, when it's debugging, I realize it's a lot smaller. it wasn't grabbing exactly what we needed. So let's go run this again. Interesting. So the text that it's grabbing is the right part in here. On this one, at least. So it's going to be really hard to see. I apologize. It missed these H2s already. It got this one here. So this H2 is correct. So I should also put this down in my list. I'll put it with the other H2s. And we know, or at least I saw, that one of the H3s was absolutely not right. So this one is still a 2. That text looks right. This one is a 3. What is the text? Okay, that one looks right. I'm just going to have a quick peek at this one. So there's 2. This H3 looks right. So I'm pretty sure early on I saw one that was absolutely mangled, though. Another level H3. This also looks right. Maybe I'm just making stuff up in my head, but I'm pretty sure I saw something get kind of crazy. Also looks right. Okay, let's pull this back up. Looks good. Sorry, these are going off the screen, I realize. Again, what you're seeing is 1/4 of my monitor, so far these are looking okay. Maybe I'm just being silly. The other thing that maybe happened is that this replacement here, I doubt this is the case, but this replacement is looking across the entire string, and if there was a duplicate, it would be replacing it in spots that we weren't expecting. So let me go ahead and run this to the end. I could have swore that I saw one that wasn't a good fit, though. Maybe not. I might be making it up. Anyway, what we do know is that the H2s at the top are not correct. That's okay. So we can see if Copilot will regenerate the regex for us. But I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to paste this in. So it's the same HTML, except we've replaced most of the H2s and H3s. We will go make it visible now and submit. Yeah, so there's still an H2 at the beginning. That's because I missed that one in the sample that I fed to Copilot. So we will check it out. But so aside from those, like these are all looking good. Right? And so this isn't going to be perfect because it's missing the beginning, but Steven's right. This is working better now. And that's because I was able to convert some of those HTML tags over to the right thing. So, oh, nice. So in the blog, there's an I button, which gives you a preview. Also works nicely with shortcodes. Perfect. Thank you. One sec. I minimized the window and now I can't find anything. There we go. So over here. Nice. I'll zoom back out a little bit. Very cool. Yeah, so if we just wanted to check to make sure these were getting picked up, that's good. But we have one more H2 that's not working, that I saw at least. What we could also do is in our test, again, this isn't, I'm not suggesting writing tests this way that you would put into a test suite. This is just me this is me having something programmatic to help verify that I'm not doing stuff that's like totally being missed. We could write something that goes through the text after and just looks for HTML, H2s, and H3s, like just looks for this text. And if it finds any of them, it's like you're missing it, right? So have a bit of a safety net. But okay, so this regex was wrong because it missed this here. And that's because it's looking for the ID, which we simply don't need. So let's see if I delete this. Is it like an optional ID now? I don't even think that's... I still don't think that works. This is the... Just for, like, if you're seeing this in front of your eyes, right? Like, when you start relying on LLMs to do stuff a little bit too much, like, yeah, this didn't fix it. So if you're like, hey, I don't know how regex works, but like Copilot or ChatGPT is putting this in front of me, so like it must work. Like it made a different one this time. This here, yeah. So Steven's saying that like, is that? I don't know if that's quite right. Like I need to get this factored into, right, Steven? The ID equals, because this last one doesn't even have ID equals. This plus sign is affecting just this, I think. So if you're constantly just looking at, like, it's giving you stuff as the output and you're like, oh, like I'm just going to go use it, and then it doesn't work. If you don't understand what, like how the regular expressions actually work, or the other example I was talking about with MySQL, if you're like, I don't actually know SQL, but like the LLM is giving this to me, and you're like, hey, it's not working, it can become really difficult to try and talk to ChatGPT or whatever you're using to say like, hey, like this is wrong, and like here's my observation about it, right? Better listen to ChatGPT rather than my gibberish. But this is like something I would generally put into ChatGPT and just say, make a regex that can parse this stuff out. So what I can do, and I'm not going to put my ChatGPT up on the screen, is I'm going to just explain what I'm doing, but I'm literally going to take this code and I'm going to say to Chat, I'm typing this in a different window. Can I hide all my other stuff? Sure, that seems like it's doing what I want at least. Fix this C# code to handle, and then I'm just going to copy and paste. Oh man, this chat window is such a pain in the butt. It was jumping around. So to handle this HTML tag properly, the rest of the HTML examples in the comments work. Here is the code. So you'll notice, oh, I can see what it did already, and it's basically very, very close to what Steven was saying. But the comment I made to Steven was that there's, based on the, whatever, this is hard to explain. I'm going to zoom in a little more. Based on the shape of what we're trying to do, like the ID part is the optional part. But can I even see it? I think that's the whole thing. Man, regular expressions suck. But the question mark, so there used to be a plus sign. Plus sign, if you're not familiar with regex, is going to say that we need one or more, but we don't need one or more of the ID. It's totally optional. We're not even using it. So the question mark says, like, could be there or not. And we need that around the entire thing that defines an ID. So I bet you if we just take this now, that will probably just work. And if it doesn't, we tell ChatGPT, hey, you're still wrong. You're not taking our jobs. That's what we tell it. But as you can see, like regular expressions are totally disgusting, right? And this one is probably more complicated than it needs to be honest. And that's another thing that I would say if you're using LLMs, especially for regular expressions. I've seen them write some regexes that are pretty crazy. And I'm like, I know I could write one that would work and it wouldn't look this complicated, but theirs might be more performant. I don't know. Let's go ahead and rerun this test. And the check that we want to do is right at the top. Boom, it did go ahead and get it. It's picking up this one here as well. There's an H3. So it looked like it did the right thing, right? There's another H2 right above it. So that's pretty cool. Thank you, ChatGPT, our savior. Full circle, let ChatGPT explain the regex. Yeah, so let me pull this back up because I didn't actually scroll through it all, but look, explanation of changes. The regular expression now makes the ID attribute optional. And then it's funny, I zoomed in to go do it manually, but it literally tells you, like, this is the part. So I wasn't making stuff up. This part matches the ID attribute only if it's present, allowing for headings without that. And then it says so they actually changed the code within to not access. Like, this doesn't throw an exception, but like we don't use this at all. So just get rid of it. So interesting, right? Like, we used Copilot to go generate some code, and it did a pretty good job. And it probably, maybe in the very beginning, if I would have had this as an example, it would have done a regex like this. But I found it after, right? So my fault. I'm the human. I messed up. Gave it another example. It didn't regenerate it exactly as we wanted, which sucks. So then we just use a different LLM, and instead of saying, hey, go make this from scratch and like repeating it, I don't like using Copilot in Visual Studio to ask it questions, but to write code, like with the comments and stuff, I love doing. But if I feel like ChatGPT, I like talking to it to go fix code or generate code and stuff. So that's why it was a good fit for me to go take this and explain, like, hey, here's a scenario that's missing from this logic. Help me make it work. And then Steven's saying, so, and then close the H2 on line 3. So check also the following. You can start an H2 on line 1, have the header on line 2, and close on H2. If you have this, it might be a more convoluted regex. Oh, interesting. So I shouldn't. And the only reason I shouldn't is because it's all programmatically generated, so that shouldn't have happened. But that's a good point, right? So let me just take this from the chat and put it into here. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm running, so I'm losing all this screen real estate. And he corrected his typo, so close the H2 on line 3. Okay, so I shouldn't have this in my code, but this would be a perfect edge case to consider because there's nothing that says that these tags have to be across one line. Cool. Okay, so that actually worked. Now what I would do is, let me go back to run this. So this is like one feature out of this list in my migration that I need. So I would take this, copy the whole thing, and now I'm going to go to blog one output, and I just paste it over top of it. Oh, I just saw an H3. I missed one. No. Oh, no. This one has a link in it. Okay. Well, now we repeat the process, right? So just to show you, my logic is if I go run this now, it should pass. Great. But we need to go update this. So this is a perfect example. Let's pull up ChatGPT again. And we can say, it also, so thanks, that worked perfectly. We also need to handle H3s that, or sorry, not just H3s, headings. So that one's disgusting, and I will say, note that it has a hyperlink, but we just need the text, a heading. Did I break it? Okay, there we go. Okay, and now it's explaining, right? So the updated pattern makes the A tag optional. It captures only the inner text, whether or not a hyperlink is present. Okay, let's see. The way that it phrased that, I don't think we had an A tag in there before. I don't think. So it's saying it made it seem to me like, oh, now it's just optional, but like it wasn't even there before. Like that's not the change. It's the fact that you even added it. So what I could do is go back into here. Sorry, all this stuff is named very terribly in terms of the file names and stuff, but this regular expression is getting just disgusting. But it's okay. So if I go run this now, it shouldn't work. And it fails. And you can see, this is why I like having, like, again, I'm not trying to say this is TDD, but it's the closest thing I do to TDD. You can see that now it's failing because it's saying, hey, look, we were expecting, and there's still this this HTML H3, and now it's actually the right thing. So the only challenge with this is that I need more text to kind of prove it. So just to give you an example, though, can we do this one manually? This is the output. So 3, and then I need that. Oh, interesting. I wonder which one it was going to pick. It shouldn't even look inside of the /a, the A tag. So anyway, let's go run this. There might still be another one, and that's okay. But if we look, it shouldn't be complaining about commands and events now. If it's going to complain, it should complain about something else. And it is. Now it's complaining about safe deployment, right? So if I were to go look for that is probably a little bit lower. H3, right? So if I go change this one manually. Oh, no, I already missed it. It's not this one. It's up here. So let's do at the same time, though. One sec. Okay, because this is going to be the next one. I just totally scrolled past the other H3, though. I still can't see it. Come on, eyes. Turn on. There we go. So writing stuff like this is pretty tedious, but once I have this, like if it goes to one more that's beyond these two that I just changed, I have enough confidence that it's doing what I want. So schedule jobs is the next one, right? So at this point, if I see an H3 and it's schedule jobs, right? I'm confident now. So what I would just do is say, great, I'm going to trust whatever the output is. So let me debug it. Take the HTML. I forgot I still had a breakpoint there. And I'm just going to drop it in the output here. And it's not going to pass this time because it didn't load the right time. But if I run it, this should now match. And great. Now we have one of the features of this list done, at least to my liking. So this was one of the features I talked about. I am going to have to drop. I apologize, but the next stream, because I'm only working on this during these streaming hours because I have other stuff going on. This is like a forcing function for me. But now we have one of these done, which is great. We can do the exact same type of logic for this video one. So this should be way easier. And then even this is going to be very similar because we're looking for a regex for images. It's just that what we want to do with that is going to look different. And maybe if since I'll carve out more time for this one, I will I'll write the code that will do the uploading to Azure Blob storage, but I'm not going to configure it just in case like my keys and stuff show up. But we'll write the code so it's there, and then we can see how it works. But I think that's it. I hope that was at least kind of helpful to see how I approach this kind of thing. The major takeaway that I wanted to show you was that style of like, this is a pretty complicated block of text. It's a lot of HTML. Regular expressions are disgusting. I mean, if I quickly flip back, you can see like, look at this regex. This is gross. I've seen significantly worse, but they're gross to work with. Like, man, what is even going on here? It's a nightmare. But you can use. I have found that LLMs are extremely good at writing regular expressions. Now, someone who is a regex pro might say like, I disagree, they're not performant or something, or I can do them faster by hand. That's great. Great for you. I'm not saying humans can't be better. All that I'm saying is like, I don't want to have to write these. I just want them to work. And it's actually much faster for me to tell an LLM, here's the scenarios I need handled, go do it. And then if I miss a scenario like we saw, go update it. And then you saw me miss another one and I could have it updated very easily and it just works. So having the test in place this way, if I would have asked ChatGPT to update the regular expression and it caused a regression on the first part, we would see that the other headings weren't matching. So when we go to repeat this with the video stuff and we go to repeat it with the images that are embedded, we'll see the same type of thing. If I miss scenarios and I say, hey, ChatGPT, like, you got to go fix this one up, if it causes a regression, we should be able to see our test fail at a different spot. And that way we can always go back and forth. But I think that's it, folks. So thank you. I should be able to resume this, next week. I don't have there's no more vacations and stuff coming up. No more Hawaii for me. Not until next year. But yeah. Thanks again, Steven, for joining. Super thankful that, you're able to jump into these and for all the help with the feature asks and stuff. So, yeah, I'm hoping this helps get some more eyes on the blog engine, and I'm super excited to get over to using this. I just had a couple of like WordPress plugins renew when I got the bill, and I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, get me over to Blazor now. So yeah, I'm very motivated to get migrated over. So, yeah, we'll get there soon. So thanks, folks. I appreciate you joining, and I'll see you next time.